The whole world thinks electric cars are the only future, but Toyota just unveiled a brand new zero-emission combustion engine, a motor that looks and feels like the gas engines you know, but runs on clean fuels like hydrogen and synthetic e-fuels, leaving nothing but water vapor behind. For years, you've been told the only path to clean cars was plugging in, but this new engine flips that idea. Instead of waiting hours at a charger or worrying about battery replacements, you could refuel in minutes, just like pumping gas, without a puff of smoke or CO2. Electric vehicles still struggle with long charging times, rare metal mining, and battery costs. Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine bypasses all of it by keeping the mechanics of a traditional motor, but swapping dirty gasoline for carbon-neutral fuels. And if it works, it could rewrite the future of cars. Here are 10 reasons why this engine could shake Tesla, BYD, and even the entire battery industry. Number 1. Most people are going to hate me for saying this, but Toyota has been the rebel of the auto industry for years. While Tesla, BYD, and a dozen startups sprinted headfirst into battery EVs, Toyota deliberately slowed down. To a lot of critics, it looked like they were falling behind, but in reality, they were building a safety net. Here's the contrast. Tesla poured billions into gigafactories, betting everything on lithium-ion. BYD became the world's top EV seller in China, churning out cheap, mass-market electric cars. Even governments followed, investing trillions into charging networks and subsidies. And Toyota? They doubled down on hybrids. Not flashy, not trendy, just practical. Cars like the Prius, Corolla Hybrid, and RAV4 Hybrid kept rolling off lots while others were waiting for EV demand to catch up. The result? By 2024, over 37% of Toyota's total global sales were hybrids, up from just 9% in 2018. That's nearly a four-fold increase in 6 years. To put it in perspective, Toyota moved over 11 million vehicles in 2024, so millions of those were hybrids. Meanwhile, EV-only brands were still struggling to hit 1 or 2 million sales worldwide. Now here's where the suspense kicks in. Everyone said the combustion engine was dead. Environmentalists buried it, Wall Street buried it, even the media buried it. But Toyota never bought a coffin. Instead, they spent the last decade secretly refining a cleaner way to keep combustion alive. Think of Toyota as the contrarian investor at the poker table. While the whole world shoved chips onto EV, Toyota slid their stack onto, what if there's another way? And if they're right, the payoff isn't just big, it's industry-shaking. Because here's the thing, the villain of this story isn't the engine. It's emissions. Toyota's strategy has always been to attack the problem instead of following the trend. That's why hybrids worked. They cut fuel use without demanding a brand new charging grid. And that's why Toyota believes their new zero-emission combustion engine will work too. It gives you the same benefits EVs promised, but in a way the whole world can actually use. So when critics said Toyota was behind, the numbers say otherwise. Their hybrids outsell most EVs combined. Their cautious path has protected them from battery shortages, lithium price spikes, and a range anxiety. And now with a new engine that can burn hydrogen or synthetic fuel without pumping smoke into the air, Toyota's contrarian gamble looks less like hesitation and more like foresight. But here's the twist. It's not just boardroom strategy. Toyota has already put these engines to the ultimate test. Not in a lab, not in a press release, on the racetrack. Number 2. You might think Toyota's new engine is just a lab experiment, a concept they'll show at an auto show and then quietly shelve. But here's where things get wild. Toyota didn't just build it, they raced it. Back in 2021, Toyota took a regular Corolla Sport, ripped out its gasoline setup, and replaced it with a hydrogen-burning combustion engine. Then they entered it into the Super Taikyu 24-hour endurance race at Fuji Speedway in Japan. Think about that. 24 hours of non-stop punishment, full throttle, pit stops, high heat, and thousands of kilometers. It's the kind of race where even the most proven gasoline cars often break. If hydrogen was going to fail, this was the moment. But here's the shocking part. It didn't. The car finished. Not only that, it sounded and drove like a normal engine. Same roar, same torque, same vibrations. But when it crossed the line, there wasn't a cloud of smoke behind it. Only water vapor. And Toyota didn't stop there. They kept testing. The next year, they unveiled a GR Yaris H2 running on liquid hydrogen. With liquid fuel, the engine got serious upgrades. 20% more range compared to the gas-compressed version, 20% more power added to the output, 30% more torque, making it even punchier than before. Those aren't lab numbers, they came from real track testing. Drivers pushed the cars through corners at Suzuka, Fuji Speedway, and other major circuits. Engineers tore the engines down afterward, expecting wear or loss of performance. What they found shocked everyone. The hydrogen engine held up, delivering the same reliability as a conventional ICE. Here's why this matters to you. Racing is the auto industry's truth serum. If a car survives a 24-hour endurance race, It can survive your daily commute, your road trips, even your oops, I forgot to fuel up moments. It proves this isn't just marketing, it's engineering. And let's be honest, this also crushes the myth that hydrogen combustion is weak. For years, people said, sure, it's clean, but it'll never have the muscle of gasoline. Toyota just threw that argument off the track at 200 kilometers per hour. But what fuels these engines is even crazier, because hydrogen is only one option. Toyota's making this engine flexible. So flexible it might run on fuels you didn't even know could power a car. Number 3. Most people think an engine only has two choices, gasoline or diesel. But Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine doesn't play by those rules. It's designed to run on multiple fuels, hydrogen, ammonia, and synthetic e-fuels. And that flexibility might be its secret weapon. Let's start with hydrogen. It's the lightest element in the universe, and when it burns, the only thing that comes out is water vapor. No carbon, no smoke. Nothing that warms the planet. Even better, hydrogen carries a ton of energy for its weight. That's why Toyota's hydrogen race cars didn't just keep up with gasoline. They sometimes had more punch. But hydrogen isn't the only option. Enter ammonia, NH3. This one's interesting because it's easier to store and transport. Hydrogen needs to be kept at extremely low temperatures or under high pressure. Ammonia, it can be handled as a liquid much more easily. The catch? When it burns, it can release small amounts of nitrogen oxides, gases that aren't great for air quality. Toyota engineers are already developing systems to neutralize those emissions, which would make ammonia another clean fuel candidate. And then there's the wild card, synthetic fuels, also called e-fuels. These are made by combining renewable hydrogen with captured carbon dioxide. At first that might sound odd, why add CO2 back in? Because when you burn the fuel, it releases the same CO2 that was taken out of the air to make it. The cycle balances out, meaning it can be close to carbon neutral. The huge benefit of e-fuels is compatibility. They can run in existing engines with very little modification. That means not just Toyota's new designs, but even millions of cars already on the road could switch to cleaner fuel without being scrapped. To put it in perspective, Porsche is building a massive e-fuel plant in Chile, and Toyota is watching closely. Imagine taking your current car, filling it with synthetic gasoline, and suddenly you're driving cleaner without ever touching a charging plug. Here's the bigger picture. EVs are locked into one option: batteries. If the grid is down, or if the charger isn't compatible, you're stuck. Toyota's zero-emission engine is like a phone that takes 3 SIM cards. It always has a way to connect. For countries with different resources, that flexibility means survival. And here's the part nobody talks about. Synthetic fuels could even keep older cars alive in a clean era. Instead of banning combustion outright, you fuel the same cars differently. That's not just innovation, it's a way to flip the entire transition debate on its head. But fueling flexibility only matters if the experience is convenient. And that's where Toyota takes its biggest shot at EVs, charging. Number 4. This is the part where half of you are going to disagree with me, but hear me out. Charging is still the EV's Achilles heel. Let's look at the numbers. Even with today's fastest chargers, you're waiting 30 to 40 minutes to get a decent charge. That's if you're lucky enough to find an open working station. With a regular home outlet, you're talking 6 to 8 hours. For a lot of drivers, that means every long trip becomes a math problem. Do I have enough range? Will I find a station? How long will I be stuck there? And that's not just annoying, it's life-changing. It means planning every road trip around plugs. It means hoping your town even has the charging network to begin with. And it means that if you forget to charge overnight, you might be late to work the next day. Now compare that to Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine. Hydrogen? Fill-up takes 3 to 5 minutes. Synthetic fuels? Same exact process as gasoline. Pull in, swipe your card, pump, leave. That's it. No scheduling your life around a socket. No waiting in the parking lot while your car sips electricity. To put it in perspective, your EV charges slower than your pizza delivery. Toyota just made clean fueling faster than ordering fries. This isn't just about time. It's about trust. People don't want to gamble every time they get behind the wheel. They want to know they can drive cross-country, hit the pump, and keep going. Toyota's engine gives you that freedom back. And here's the twist. Charging is only half the story. Because while EVs are chained to their batteries, Toyota's engine frees you from the most expensive, fragile, and controversial part of the electric revolution: the battery itself. Number 5. If this doesn't blow your mind, nothing will. Toyota's new zero-emission engine doesn't just sidestep batteries, it threatens to crush an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Here's why. Right now, the entire EV ecosystem is chained to one thing: giant lithium-ion packs. Tesla built its empire on them, pouring billions into gigafactories across Nevada, Berlin, and Shanghai. BYD isn't just an automaker. It's also one of the largest battery producers on Earth. Even governments are shoveling money into battery plants because they see them as the oil fields of the future. The result? Metals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel became the new kings of the supply chain. Lithium is literally called white gold. Mining countries like Chile, Australia, and the Congo now control the fate of EV production. But there's a catch. Mining is dirty, costly, and limited. Every EV you build today means deeper holes in the ground tomorrow. Now picture what happens when Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine takes off. Number 1,000-pound battery pack. No $10,000 replacement every 7 to 8 years. No reliance on cobalt from unstable regions or nickel from scarce deposits. Suddenly, the billions Tesla, BYD, and Panasonic invested into battery tech start looking like stranded assets. And here's where the earthquake shakes hardest. Global demand for lithium could collapse. Prices that soared like rocket fuel because of EV hype could just as quickly tank. Mining companies that staked their future on the EV century might watch their profits evaporate. Think about that. Whole nations like Chile and Australia bet their economies on lithium exports. If drivers can fuel up with hydrogen or synthetic e-fuels instead, that white gold could turn into fool's gold. In other words, Toyota isn't just challenging EVs. It's threatening to upend the entire financial backbone of the electric revolution. And this isn't just about corporations losing billions. It's about what lands in your wallet. Because if you cut out batteries, you cut out the biggest hidden cost of owning an EV. Number 6. Let's be honest. Most people don't care what powers their car as long as it's affordable, reliable, and doesn't leave them broke. And here's where Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine really stings EVs, your wallet. Batteries are the single most expensive part of an EV. On average, the battery alone makes up 30 to 40% of the car's cost. And it doesn't last forever. After 7 to 8 years, depending on climate and use, owners often face replacement costs that can hit $10,000 or more. That's like buying a used car just to keep the one you already own. Now add in the hidden costs. Charging at home can spike your electric bill, especially in countries where electricity is expensive. Long-term performance drops as batteries degrade, which kills resale value. Repairs are often specialized, which means higher labor rates and fewer mechanics who can even do the work. Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine erases most of these pain points. No giant battery pack to replace. No rare metal supply chain driving up the sticker price. Maintenance looks and feels more like the cars you're already used to. Oil changes and spark plugs are gone, but you still have a traditional engine layout that most shops can service. Here's the kicker. Because the engine runs on hydrogen, ammonia, or synthetic e-fuels, the initial cost of the car could actually drop compared to a battery-powered EV. And long-term, there's no expensive battery replacement looming over you. That's less financial anxiety and more money left in your pocket. Think of it like this. EVs are like buying the latest iPhone every time the battery fades. You pay premium prices just to keep up. Toyota's engine is like keeping your phone, but swapping in a cleaner charger. Same performance, lower stress, way fewer surprise bills. And that's not just theory. Toyota's hybrid success already proves people value affordability over hype. Millions of drivers chose the Prius or Corolla hybrid because they trusted Toyota to save them gas and save them money. That same playbook could make zero-emission combustion the obvious choice for families who don't want to gamble their savings on a giant lithium pack. But saving money is only half the story. The bigger question is, who actually gets access to this technology? Because right now, EVs are only practical in a handful of wealthy countries. Toyota's engine could flip that global map. Number 7. Okay, pause. Because probably even my mom thinks this is insane. But EVs aren't really global. They're city toys. Here's why. EVs only work where the charging network works. In places like California, Norway, or parts of China, you'll find chargers almost everywhere. But step outside those hotspots, and the reality changes fast. In India, Africa, Southeast Asia, and even rural America, the infrastructure just isn't there. Millions of drivers would have to install private chargers, or worse, wait for governments to spend trillions of dollars building networks that could take decades to complete. Now put yourself in that position. Would you buy a car that depends on an invisible power grid, or one that can refuel at a pump that already exists? This is where Toyota's zero-emission engine wins. It doesn't need an entirely new ecosystem to function. Hydrogen can be delivered and stored through fueling stations. Synthetic e-fuels can use the exact same pumps, tanks, and pipelines already built for gasoline. And ammonia is easier to store and transport than hydrogen, making it practical for countries that can't afford cryogenic facilities. Think about the scale of that advantage. Instead of waiting decades for a national charging rollout, Toyota's system can slot right into the infrastructure we already have. Gas stations don't have to vanish, they just adapt. That means countries with limited resources can skip the EV-only stage and jump straight into clean combustion. This isn't just a convenience story, it's an adoption story. EVs are great if you live in a tech-rich city with government subsidies. But if you're in a small town in India, or a farm in Africa, or a village in Southeast Asia, Toyota's technology makes clean driving possible right now. So while EVs may dominate wealthy markets, Toyota's zero-emission engine could dominate the world. Because what good is a green car if only the rich can use it? And that brings us to something even more emotional than accessibility, the experience of driving itself. Because clean or not, people still want their cars to feel alive. Number 8. Most people are going to hate me for saying this, but a lot of drivers don't actually enjoy EVs. Sure, they're smooth, quiet, and efficient, but that's also the problem. For many, driving an EV feels less like controlling a machine and more like swiping a screen. It's fast, but it's soulless. Toyota knows that emotion matters. Cars aren't just appliances, they're companions. They're freedom machines. And that's why their zero-emission combustion engine isn't designed to erase the old experience. It's designed to preserve it. Here's the difference. Electric vehicles give you silent acceleration. Toyota's hydrogen engines give you roar, vibration, and punch. The visceral thrill of combustion, but without the smoke. The sound is still there, the revs are still there, the feeling is still there. Except instead of burning gasoline, you're burning hydrogen or e-fuels that release only water vapor or net neutral emissions. Think about that for a second. The same adrenaline rush that made people fall in love with driving, the growl when you floor it, the torque when you launch onto the highway, is now powered by clean fuels. It's the best of both worlds. The thrill of the past, the conscience of the future. And Toyota has proof. Their hydrogen-powered GR Yaris H2 and Corolla Sport race cars didn't just keep up on the track, they delivered performance numbers equal to, and sometimes better than, their gasoline counterparts. Drivers said they felt no difference behind the wheel, except knowing the exhaust pipe was spitting out nothing but water vapor. Even YouTube's algorithm is probably cringing right now, but yes, you get to keep the vroom. And that matters because driving is emotional, not just practical. If cars lose their soul, people lose interest. Toyota's engine ensures the soul stays alive. But this story isn't just about passion. It's about power, real geopolitical power. Because what you put into your tank doesn't just affect your drive, it can change entire nations. Number 9. If this doesn't blow your mind, nothing will. The fuel you put in your car doesn't just change how you drive, it can change who runs the world. Right now, the electric boom has handed power to countries rich in lithium, cobalt, and nickel. China controls most of the global lithium refining. Australia is one of the top lithium miners. Chile's economy is tied to exporting white gold, and the Democratic Republic of Congo supplies the majority of the world's cobalt. These countries suddenly became gatekeepers of the EV revolution, because without those metals, you can't build a battery. But Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine rips that playbook in half. Instead of lithium, it runs on hydrogen, ammonia, and synthetic fuels. That shifts demand back toward regions already built for energy, the Middle East, North America, and Europe, where governments are pouring billions into hydrogen plants and carbon-neutral fuel projects. Nations that looked like they'd lose influence in the EV era, like Japan, Saudi Arabia, or Germany, suddenly have a path to stay relevant. And synthetic fuels take it even further. They don't require brand new pipelines or fueling stations. They can flow through today's global gasoline infrastructure. That means countries that dominate oil refining could pivot almost overnight into green fuel exports. Think about that. Your same neighborhood gas station could be selling clean gasoline within a decade. Now imagine the flip side. If global EV adoption slows because Toyota's engine catches on, demand for lithium crashes. Entire economies, Chile, Australia, the Congo, could see their export markets shrink. Billion-dollar mining projects could stall. Gigafactories designed to pump out millions of battery cells might sit half empty. This isn't just about cars anymore, it's about the balance of power between East and West, between energy exporters and miners, between old oil states and new battery states. Toyota's engine could tilt the scale back toward the traditional energy nations and away from the lithium lords. So this isn't just an engineering breakthrough, it's a geopolitical shockwave. And Toyota isn't facing it alone, because behind this engine, there's a whole coalition of automakers pushing the same strategy. Number 10. Most people think the future of cars is a single road. One solution, one technology, one winner. Everything will be electric and that's it. But Toyota has never played by those rules. Instead, they're betting on what they call a multi-pathway strategy. And it might be the smartest move in the entire industry. Here's what that means. While companies like Tesla and BYD are tied to batteries, Toyota is spreading its bets. Hybrids for markets that want lower emissions today without waiting for infrastructure. Battery EVs where charging networks and subsidies already exist. Hydrogen fuel cells like the Toyota Mirai, which launched in 2014 and hit over 21,000 sales worldwide by 2022, with a range of 480 to 500 kilometers and a refuel time of 3 to 5 minutes. And now, zero-emission combustion engines running on hydrogen, ammonia, or synthetic fuels. They're not just building engines, they're building an ecosystem. Toyota, Subaru, and Mazda are already teaming up to develop smaller, more efficient combustion engines designed to fit hybrid systems and run on carbon-neutral fuels. These engines free up space, reduce weight, and give automakers more design flexibility. Here's why that matters to you. Instead of forcing one technology on the entire world, Toyota is giving countries and customers options. Maybe EVs make sense in Norway, where charging is everywhere. Maybe synthetic fuels make more sense in rural India, where the power grid is shaky. Maybe hydrogen works in Japan, where government subsidies are building new refueling stations. With a multi-pathway strategy, Toyota is covered either way. It's like this. Other automakers are betting everything on a single horse in the race. If that horse stumbles, if batteries hit a wall, if lithium prices spike, if governments cut subsidies, their whole strategy collapses. Toyota isn't just betting on the horse. They're building the racetrack. No matter which energy wins, Toyota has a car ready for it. And that's the real story. Toyota isn't blindly resisting EVs, and they're not blindly worshiping hydrogen either. They're simply saying, the world is messy, and no one solution fits everyone. By designing a future where multiple technologies coexist, Toyota might not just survive the transition, they might control it. But all these reasons lead to one unavoidable question. If Toyota's engine works, what happens to the EV revolution we thought was unstoppable? So what does all this mean for you? It means the car of tomorrow won't be locked into a single solution. EVs aren't going away, but they won't dominate unchallenged. Toyota's zero-emission combustion engine has proven in races, in labs, and in boardrooms that the story isn't over. The real takeaway is simple. The cleanest car of the future might roar like the past, refuel in minutes, and run cleaner than the EV parked next to it. This is the moment the auto industry splits in two. On one side, the all-in EV believers. On the other, Toyota and its allies, betting on flexibility, hybrids, hydrogen, synthetic fuels, and carbon-neutral combustion. If history repeats, the contrarian path wins. Just like hybrids shocked the world 20 years ago, Toyota's new engine could shock it again. So the question is, which side would you bet on? The silent battery or the roaring clean engine? Nah. If you're still watching at this point, you're officially my favorite subscriber. And if you're not subscribed yet, well, you already know what to do.